Hey, happy Monday. Today we are going to be switching topics. We are going to be focusing this week on line plots. So in other words, a line plot is a type of graph that you can plot information on to help you visually see things and to answer questions a little bit more simply about a specific amount of data. So in this case, I wanted to show you, you should have worked with line plots before, but just as an introduction, I just wanted to talk about how all line plots are going to start off with a number line with labeled tick marks, and the X's represent, they show how many of each piece of data that you're working with. And then all the line plots have labels to tell you where the data is being counted. A lot of times there'll be a label down at the bottom saying that this is, for example, pumpkins in pounds, if it was measuring pumpkin weight. So this one doesn't have a specific label. However, most of them would. So a line plot shows data on a number line with an X to show how many times the number comes up. And like I said, this can be used to help you answer questions about a specific set of numbers instead of having to stare at a giant list of numbers. So for example, over here on the side, this is the data set, or this is the collection of data that can be displayed in the graph. So this right here was then transferred over to this line plot. So if I wanted to ask you which number had the most, or what was the difference between the greatest and least, or how many had more than 5, it just really helps you answer questions visually instead of having to look over and look at a whole bunch of numbers. So today we're going to just do some practice with plotting line plots. Later this week, we're going to be answering questions with line plots. So I'm going to use IXL for math to give us some examples to look at together. So this first example says Camille just moved to a new city. She made a list of places to visit in the city. For each place, she listed the distance it is from her new home. So you'll see here they have everything organized in a table. Use the data in the table to complete the line plot below. So if I look at this line plot, it already has the number line set up for me, and it already has, it looks like each one of these is going up by a fourth. And now it's telling me that this represents miles because we're talking about distance in miles. Now I need to plot the number or plot the points on here. A couple different ways you can do this. You can go through and count. So for example, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 3/4. So I can go to 5 3/4 and click the 5 3/4. The X is there. Pretend they're like not there. They are just like invisible X's that you can click on for this program. But you'll see here that there's 1 1/2 and 1 1. So sometimes if you do it that way, if you don't like cross them off as you go, you might not be able to plot them, or you might accidentally make a mistake. We'll go ahead and submit and see how we did. Good. Okay. It says use the line plot to answer the question below. So it says, identify the place that is farthest from home. How far away is it? So if I look at this number line, if it's farthest at home, it's mean it's going to be the greatest number. The greatest number is at 1. There's one place that was 1 mile away, so it was 1 mile away. Here's another question. How many places are less than 1 mile away from home? So this is the same information that I plotted before. So in this case, I want less than a mile, which means it doesn't include a mile. So how many places here? So I just have to count the X's because the X represents the places. So that was 5 and that was 1. So there's a total of 6 places. So it says, how much farther from home is the farthest place than the closest place? Write your answer as a fraction, mixed number, or whole number. So the farthest place was 1. And the closest place was 1/2. So if I'm trying to find the distance between them, or how much farther something is, I would use subtraction. So in this case, it's 1/2 miles. Okay, here's a new set of data points, and then I'm going to have you practice. So Ivan and his friends experimented with different types of amounts of laundry detergents. They ran some loads of laundry, hoping to find a perfect combination of fresh smell and cleanliness. Use the data in the tables to complete the line plots below. So in this case, they did 7 loads, and each load had a specific amount of tablespoons that they used. So once again, it's labeled tablespoon because that's what each one of these tick marks is going to represent. The X's is going to represent each load of laundry detergent. So in this case, if I want to go through, I can start at 3/4. We'll do it this way this time. So I start at 3/4. Then I have 1/2, 1/2, 1/2, 1/2, 1/2. So that's 5 1/2s. And then 1 1/4. So once again, notice how the X's on a line plot are the same size, and they do that so that you can compare the rows quickly or the columns quickly. They're also lined up straight, a nice amount of space between them. And once again, that's to help you visualize and be able to use it. So let's go ahead and answer some questions about the laundry detergent then. It says, how many loads contain no more than 3/4 of a tablespoon of detergent? So no more than, which means it would also include 3/4. So it should be all the loads, right? This should be 7 loads. We'll see if that's right. Sometimes the wording, you have to be careful. Like if it would, we were right. Very good. How many loads contain more than 1/4 of a tablespoon, but less than 3/4 of a tablespoon of detergent? So in other words, how many loads contain more than 1/4? Well, 1/4 is not more than 1/4, so it doesn't count that. But less than 3/4, well, there's only one load that was equal to 3/4. It has to be less than. So it's asking us for how many were at 1/2, which in this case was 5. And how much more detergent was in the load with the most detergent than in the load with the least detergent? So looking at this chart, I can see that the most detergent was 3/4. The least detergent was 1/4 tablespoon. So 3/4 minus 1/4 is 2/4. So I could write it as 2/4, or I could have also wrote it as 1/2 a tablespoon. All right. So that was just a couple practice problems. Hopefully you get the gist of being able to plot the points on your assignment today. You are just going to be plotting the points and practicing. Later this week, we're going to be plotting real data points from our class that we're going to be collecting. So please, please, please make sure that you fill out that Google form about the length of your foot in inches to the nearest half and the height, your height to the nearest 1/4 of an inch. That's going to be very helpful as we do the rest of the activities for this week.